All right. Greetings, everybody. We have a special guest with us today. It is someone who did the Herbal Results protocol for reversing diabetes, and he has a story that everybody should buckle up and listen to because this is going to be very instructive. It's going to be very educational. So let's get into it. Who we got with us today?
Mack Glover.
All right, Mack Glover. How old are you, Mack?
I'll be 70 July 23rd.
Okay. And where are you based out of?
Chicago.
Okay. Chicago, Illinois?
Yes, sir.
Okay. That's where I grew up. So that's my
Oh,
old,
wow. Okay.
that's my
Yeah, I
old
moved down
stomping
to
grounds.
Atlanta for about 25 years. Then I moved back here about 10 years ago.
Okay. Okay. How old you said you were again?
I'll be 70 in July 23rd.
Okay. Let's talk about the issues that you had. You can start from the very beginning, man. Take your time.
Yeah, well, my issue was that picture that you showed of my foot with that hole at the bottom of my foot.
Yeah, we're gonna get into that. We're gonna get into that.
Okay, well, that's where it started.
Okay.
I had this issue with my foot, and this doctor had cut on my foot without checking to see if I was diabetic. So
How long ago was this?
that was oh brother, that was about maybe 9 months.
9 months ago?
Yeah, but maybe close to 9 months, right? And so maybe 8. But anyway, so then after that happened, the wound wouldn't heal. So they was talking about amputating and all of that. And, I'm like, no, we're not amputating on me. You know what I'm saying? So they put me in a hospital. They checked my A1C. My A1C was at 11. So now I'm telling them, well, if my A1C is at 11, how is it possible that the foot's going to heal? Now I shouldn't have to be explaining this to these doctors.
Right.
But because their job is to tell me, well, the diabetes is incurable and, there's nothing you can do but take our metformin and insulin and, take the medication and learn to live with it for the rest of your life. And I just wasn't feeling that. I wasn't hearing none of that. But because that's what they're telling me over in the diabetic clinic, the foot doctors are going along with that. So now the foot.
Got it.
You,
So
you
let me ask
follow
you a
me?
question though. Let me ask you a question, Mac. You didn't know that you had diabetes before the foot injury?
Yeah, I knew I had diabetes.
Okay, so how long have you had diabetes? Or how
I've
long have you
been
known?
dealing with it. I've known probably I've been dealing with this issue about 10 years.
Okay, so you've had diabetes for about 10 years. And
Yes.
what were you taking? What were you doing?
Nothing.
What did the hospital's
I,
doctors
I
tell
was
you to do?
trying. I was trying. See, I didn't understand the severity of it. So I was trying to deal with it with diet, changing my diet, changing the things I was eating. So that's how I started trying to deal with it. But that wasn't working. You
Okay,
follow me? So they
okay,
kept trying to get me to take the metformin and insulin, and I just wasn't going to do it. Because like I told them, I said, no, I'm not going to take it because I felt that if once my body is used to taking that, now my body is dependent on that.
okay,
So I just didn't want to take it, so I wouldn't take it. So
okay,
then I had this foot issue. This is when it got deep. When I started having that foot issue and they started talking about amputating, that's when I really got, I was starting to get depressed. See, we have to watch these doctors. You can't trust nothing that they're saying. So they started talking about amputating. I'm telling them, listen. But see, because remember, they got us going to different departments. The diabetic clinic telling me it can't be cured. So when I go to the foot doctor, they telling me the same thing. Well, the diabetes can't be cured, so the only thing we can do is amputate. You
okay.
follow what I'm saying?
And how
And
long ago was this when they told you you need to amputate
this
your?
was this was uh about 5 months ago.
Okay, so 5 months ago. So we're just getting the timeline. 10 years ago, you were
At
diagnosed
10
with
years
diabetes.
I've been
Right,
dealing with the
right.
diabetic
And
problem for
then
about
nine
10 years.
months ago, you had a foot injury that was not healing. Now,
Exactly.
now, how did you injure your foot, or was just one day you just started
No,
seeing a
I didn't
wound?
injure my foot. The damn doctor cut on my foot and that turned into a wound that wouldn't heal.
Okay, that was the foot doctor.
Yeah, the foot doctor is the one that started it. He cut on my foot, and when he cut on my foot, it wouldn't heal. And then I found out why, because my A1C was up at 11.
Got it. Why did he cut on your foot in the first place? Oh, your mic got muted. Yeah, you good.
So their job is telling me that the diabetes cannot be cured.
Got it.
So if they telling me,
Mac, let me ask you a question, Mac. I just want to go in order. Why did the foot doctor cut on your foot in the first place?
Because it was some loose skin on the edge of my foot.
Got it. And then that caused the wound.
Exactly. So he cut it, I guess, for whatever reason. And I wasn't paying attention. You know, he called himself working on my foot, checking it to make sure everything's okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so everything was okay until he cut it.
Okay.
And so when he cut that dead skin off, it would not heal.
Got it.
And it turned into a wound. And that's that picture I sent. That's when it turned into this wound that had a hole up underneath. So about a couple of months later is when they kept saying, well, it's not healing. Before it gets any worse, we need to go ahead and amputate this toe.
All right, let's talk about your hospital admission. So you admitted to the hospital about what, 3 months ago?
They admitted me in a hospital about 4 or 5 months ago.
Okay, 4 months ago, 4 or 5 months ago. Tell everyone your story about being in the hospital. What happened?
All right, so they put me in a hospital. They checked my A1C. They saw your A1C is at 11, and you know, your A1C is at 11. The foot is never going to heal because you have this diabetes. The A1C is going up. So they start sending me, you know, I'm in the hospital. They tell them that high A1C. But I noticed something. They're sending me all kind of fruit juices, sweet juices with sugar. They sending me caramel cake, strawberry shortcake, and ice cream. I said, wait a minute. Didn't y'all say my A1C is at 11? They said, yeah. I said, well, why y'all keep sending me this kind of diet? The lady said, well, don't worry about it. We just shoot you with the insulin and everything will be okay. I said, no, we're not doing none of that. So they were telling me, well, we're going to have to amputate. I said, no, we're not going to amputate on me. So they put me in a surgical room and I didn't know it. So at night, no, I didn't know how they had put me in a surgical room anyway. They just going to do what they want to do. So they transferred me to a surgical room. I didn't know this. And the lady came in and said, well, you know, sir, you can't have anything to eat or drink after midnight. I said, why? She said, because you have surgery in the morning. I said, I looked around like, who's she talking to me? I said, I said, surgery. She said, yeah, you scheduled for surgery in the morning. I said, didn't I tell those doctors they're not going to cutting on me? She said, well, that's what they have set up. So the doctors came in my room about 6 o'clock that morning. I was almost ready. About 6 of them, bunch of them coming in there looking at my foot, talking about, well, Mr. Glover, you know, we got to amputate and this and that. I said, you know what? Y'all keep talking about amputating on my foot. Let's talk about my diabetes. They said, well, the diabetes is not curable, so the foot is going to just get worse because remember, their job is to tell us that diabetes is not curable. Mm-hmm. So they was talking about, well, you know, you're supposed to be taking the insulin. They want me, in other words, they let me know. That's what's going on. We're constantly eating this food that we're eating. And when you shoot insulin, that kind of regulates everything. I told them I don't want to be regulated like that. I want my body to regulate itself. So when I told them that, I said, listen, y'all, we're not going to do any amputating on me at all. I promise you. And that's it. So they put me out that day.
They kicked you out the hospital.
They kicked me out because they said, we're not going to do a surgery. You got to go. Because I didn't know the surgery beds is how they making their money. So I'm in the wrong room. They said, well, we're not going to do a surgery. I mean, they discharged me immediately.
What's the name
You
of the
follow me?
hospital?
So, Stroger Hospital, or Old Cook County Hospital.
Okay.
So
Got
after they put me out, I'm depressed, because I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to do? And so a friend of mine contacted me. He knew what I was going through. So brother Muhammad, he contacted me. The brother said, Mac, he said, you got to listen to this brother, Dr. Heru, on Sankofa Revolutionary Radio. Now, listen, he had told me about you before, but my mind was, that's why you have to have a clear mind so you can hear when people are speaking sometimes. My mind was so preoccupied with the problems that I couldn't hear what he was telling me. So then after I got put out the hospital, then he called me again and told me about it again. I said, okay, brother, at this point, I ain't got no choice. So I dialed in to Sankofa Revolutionary Radio that day, and I listened to a brother who said that he had dropped his A1C, went from 11 to 6 in 3 weeks. And so I was like, oh, really? That got my attention. So that's when I finished listening to the program. Then I called in, spoke to you, and you put me on your regimen. And brother, all I can say is I thank God for you because you saved my life. I mean, really, I can say the regimen that you put me on, it was hard. It was hard. It was difficult because to change your diet after being, this food is nothing but another habit. That's all it is. And that's what I recognized going through your program, that all this stuff that I had been eating is nothing but a habit. You follow me? It's like kicking a drug habit. So I had to kick the habit of eating the stuff that I had been eating. And so when you said no sugar, no salt, no bread, no this, no that, I was like, oh my God, how am I going to do this? You know what I'm saying? And so when I got on your regimen, when you put me on the
The olive leaf extract.
Olive leaf extract with the Moringa,
The
cilantro
cilantro.
mixture, and then the zinc, magnesium, and the K2 and the D3K2.
Yeah.
Along with that, and doing exactly what you said, and not eating. And you said no bread with no gluten.
Right.
So, and then I started looking at all the bread. I said, oh my God, all this bread, this is not, I don't know what it is, but it's not real. It's not right. I found only one bread. It was a keto bread. That was the only bread I could find that was gluten-free, didn't have any wheat, wasn't made out of wheat flour.
Right.
And so I had been eating spelt bread for the first 30 days on your program. It probably wouldn't have took me as long, but I was eating spelt bread for about the first 5 weeks on your program. Then I looked at it good and it says wheat flour. Oh my God. And gluten. So that's what kind of made me have to go the 3 months. Had I not done that, been eating that bread, I think I would have done it sooner. So I went from 11 to 9.1. Then it went down.
A1C?
My A1C, yeah. Went down to 9.1. Then I checked in 30 more days and went down to 7.2. Then I checked it again and it went down to 5.5. You follow what I'm saying? And this happened over a period of 3 months. So now, as of June the 1st, when I checked my A1C, it was 5.5. And so that was June 1st. So around the 9th, about a week later, I noticed my foot. I'm steady putting these bandages on my foot. And so around a week after my A1C hit 5.15, I was looking at the bottom of my foot and I thought it was like, because it wasn't black no more. It was a light color. And I thought that the bandage had got stuck to the bottom of my foot. And that's what I thought I was looking at. then when I pulled it, I looked at it real good. I said, oh my God, the skin is growing back, the epidermis. Because, you know, I mean, I'm telling you, this got me into looking at the dermis and epidermis. And I didn't know nothing about none of that. So I was asking the foot doctor about the epidermis growing back. They said, well, you know, your diabetes is stopping it. So when I looked up and the new skin was growing back, I said, oh my God, brother, I almost passed out when I saw the epidermis starting to grow back. And so I wound up going to the doctor. And when I went to the doctor, they checked my A1C. Now, when I went to the doctor and they checked my A1C, it was at 6.1, something like that. You follow me? But it's still good. And so I know what that was from. Because, see, we have a habit of we think everything's okay. So I ate a couple of cookies and, you know, drank some I shouldn't have ate. You know what I'm saying? Right. And I know that's what had me go back up to the 6.2 from 5.5. So I left that alone. But anyway, when I went to the doctor, they said, oh, wow, your A1C is this. How did you do it? I wanted to tell them not listening to y'all. That's how I did. You know, listen to Dr. Heroin. So anyway, then I went to the foot doctor I went to the regular doctor last Thursday. And that's when they were like, oh, wow, your A1C is, you know, you're doing pretty good. How did this happen? And again, I didn't say not listening to him, but I wanted to say that so bad. I said, because I knew y'all was lying. I didn't listen to what y'all was talking about. And after being on your regimen, it all worked out. Then I went to the foot doctor on last week as well. And when I went to the foot doctor, the same doctor, he looked at my foot, he was floored because he saw the epidermis growing back, right? And so the foot doctor said, oh, wow, we don't have to see you for about another month, you know, because they were seeing me every 2 weeks. He said, well, we'll see you in about another month. And so he was floored. He said, oh, wow, the epidermis growing back. He said, what'd you do? I said, my A1C is now down to 5.5. That was before I went to the other doctor and they checked my A1C again. So I did that home test A1C. It said 5.5. And so, like I said, he was floored by the epidermis growing back. Because I told him, I said, well, doc, my A1C is down to this now. He said, okay, well, that looks good, and we'll see you next time. So I'll see him in a month. So that's where I'm at right now. And I sent you a picture of how my foot looked before and how my foot looked after being on your regimen.
Yep. And I'm going to share the screen for that so that people can actually take a look at your foot, the before and after, because it's really amazing to see. But at the same time, it's not that amazing if you understand exactly what's happening with your health and with other people's health when it comes to diabetes. So for the people watching, I want to be able to share this with you all. We're going to be looking at right now this picture.
That's how my foot
right here.
That's how my foot looked for months.
And we see the hole right there.
That's the hole. And see, the side of my foot is where the doctor cut. And it went from him cutting to that hole that you see.
Yep, I see it. And if you
that was on my foot looked like that, brother, for at least 6 months.
Right. And they were going to amputate that foot, right?
Yeah, they wanted to amputate where they was trying to tell me they cut off a part of it, but you know how that wound up being.
Right. So you'd be walking around with, one foot. And this is what happens to people when they don't understand what's going on. And we're going to explain what's going on just for the benefit of the people. But let's look at the after picture. This is the second picture that you sent me as it started to heal, when they said that it would not heal and that your diabetes was irreversible. That's it right there, people.
Right. See how the epidermis started growing? It's starting to grow back.
We can see that hole is closing up. We see it starting to look real nice. Starting to look real clean there. And they're amazed because they're not really trained properly to heal people. What they're trained to do is they're trained to give people pharmaceuticals and to do surgery and to cut things off of people. So whenever there's a problem, they just cut it off instead of actually addressing the root cause of the issue. And we're going to get into, what's going on just for the benefit of the people watching, Mac. And it's a shame that, your doctors weren't able to tell you this sooner.
Yeah,
Because
no, no,
you've been
I'm gonna
suffering
tell
for
you
over a
something.
decade.
Yeah, and so I realize what they're doing. They're scaring people into surgery.
Yeah,
That's what they were doing. They was trying to scare me. No, if you don't do this, it's going to just get worse and you might have to cut the whole leg and all. I'm like, you know what? I don't give a damn what y'all say. We're not cutting on me. That's when they put me out.
right. And
But they was
so,
trying to scare me into that surgery like they do so many of our people.
right, exactly. So let me just explain for the listeners what's going on with you. Is that what they're calling diabetes, they should really call it something else. They should call it insulin resistance. So what you had is you had insulin resistance because throughout your life, you've been eating things that cause glucose buildup in your body. And that glucose buildup is through sugar and particularly refined carbohydrates. That's the white flour, the white rice, the white pasta, the cookies, the wheat, all of that stuff turns into sugar into the body. And your body developed a resistance to insulin because what happens is that insulin, the role that insulin plays is that it delivers sugar or glucose from the blood into the cell for energy. So the body is like you familiar with like a hybrid car? You heard like a Toyota Prius, Mac? So
Yes.
like a Toyota Prius runs off of gasoline and electricity, right? So the human body is the same way. The human body runs off of glucose and fats called ketones, but it will use glucose first. And when the glucose runs out, then it will run on these fats called ketones. So what was happening with you is that you had such a buildup of glucose that it was triggering insulin to be activated in your body, which is a hormone that delivers the glucose from the blood to the cell. Well, guess what was happening, Mac? That it was being triggered so much that your body started developing a resistance to insulin, just like an alcoholic. So me in particular, I've said this many times on the radio show. I haven't had a drink of alcohol recreationally since 1990. So that's been 34 years. So, and even then, when I drank, I took about 3 sips of beer and I got drunk. So if I was to take 3 sips of beer today, I would get drunk because my body's not used to alcohol. My body's sensitive to alcohol. However, if I have a twin brother who's been drinking for the last 30 years and drinking, he's an alcoholic, he would have to drink a whole case of beer to even start feeling drunk because his body has developed a resistance to alcohol. So very similarly, what they're calling diabetes is really insulin resistance. But the problem is that when insulin is activated in the body, your insulin is no longer effective to move that same amount of glucose from the blood into the cell. So you have what you call leftover sugar. And so when they test your blood, you get high blood sugar. Well, when you get high blood sugar, it causes all types of problems. One of those problems being the inability to heal from wounds. They should have been very clear on that, but they don't tell people that. A lot of people who are diabetic, they end up getting limbs cut off because of gangrene, because they get wounds that don't heal. They end up becoming blind, and all these things are completely preventable if people understood that their problem was insulin resistance. So what you do is you stop eating the foods that trigger insulin, because the more insulin that you get in your body, it's a double-edged sword. It's not only a deliverer of glucose from the blood to the cell, insulin also causes inflammation. So when insulin is activated, your body is in an inflammatory state. So for them to pump you with insulin, for you to be in the hospital and they say you can eat whatever you want, you can eat pound cake, you can eat donuts, you can eat whatever, we'll just pump you with insulin, means that they don't really understand the role of insulin and the double-edged sword of insulin, that your body is going to go into an inflammatory state. And then your body becomes more and more insulin resistant the more that you pump it with insulin. So the way they deal with that, Mac, is instead of giving you insulin, they'll give you a thing called metformin. So metformin, what metformin does, as opposed to what insulin does, is metformin makes your body insulin sensitive. It reverses insulin resistance. So the opposite of insulin resistance is insulin sensitivity. It makes your body insulin sensitive. But the problem with that is they do not tell you that one of the main side effects, or the first listed side effect, which I'm going to show right here to the audience, is death. Death is the first listed side effect for metformin. You can go to drugs.com, metformin side effects, and we're going to scroll down. See? Can you see this, Mac?
Wow.
Warning, death.
Yeah.
Do you see that?
Yeah.
Death is the
Wow.
first listed side effect for metformin
Wow.
through lactic acidosis. You see? And
Mm-hmm.
they don't tell you that. And I'm sure that when they told you to take metformin, they never told you that the first listed side effect, or the first listed warning for the side effects of metformin, is death. You can't get more serious than that. And I'm going to highlight it. And I'm going to make it bigger so that the people can see, because, you know, when I talk about these things, people think that, you know, I might be exaggerating or making it up or what have you. And so I want to be able to show people exactly, because I like to give people receipts. I like to give people chapter and verse. Warning, death, metformin side effects. Okay? So,
And when the doctor gave, I'm gonna tell you, when the first doctor gave me a metformin prescription, and when I came back to his office, he said, "Did you get that metformin prescription filled? I mean, did you get your metformin?" I said, "No." He said, "Why not?" I said, "Because I'm not taking it." And he was
right.
having a fit.
Of
He said,
course
"How
they're
come
having
you're
a
not
fit.
gonna take it?" I said, "Because I don't trust it." He said, "Well, I'm the doctor." I said, "Doc, I don't care what you say. I'm not taking it." And they want to argue with me about this.
Exactly, because that's what they've been trained. They've been trained that this is the only solution. And so now let's talk about what you did in terms of the regimen that you did. And I'm going to explain it to people so that people understand, because the whole point of these interviews is for people to learn how to heal themselves. And so
Oh, wait, but
basically,
let me say this too.
yeah,
See, because they have an attitude that I'm the doctor, you're the patient, you sort of listen to me. While I was in the hospital, the nurse came in my room one night and she had this shot. I said, "What's that?" She said, "The doctor said, give it to you." I said, "I didn't ask you that. I asked you, what is it?" She said, "Well, this is for your cholesterol." I said, "I'm not in here for cholesterol problems." I said, so I'm not taking it. She said,
right.
"You saying you don't want me to give it to you?" I said, "I'm telling you, you're not going to give it to me." So they was having a fit about that. I'm telling you, man, these people are something else.
Right. And it's probably a statin drug. And the problem with the statin drugs is that they actually are responsible for causing Alzheimer's and dementia in people. And, you know, that's a whole different conversation, but they were going to give you that to take as well. And then before you know it, your memory's gone. And
Well,
your issue with,
I've been blessed because when the ancestors speak in my spirit, I listen to them and I ain't
good.
listening to nothing else.
That's good, because you're listening to what makes sense. And they were just gonna, this is what it is, that they don't try to change the problem or address the problem from the root cause. They just want to give you medication or surgery. And these medications are pharmaceuticals that are patented, where the pharmaceutical companies end up making a whole lot of money instead of actually addressing your real issue. Even with the cholesterol issue is an inflammation issue. So the fact that you've got all of this insulin being released in your body that's not actually moving the glucose, you've got all this insulin that's causing inflammation, and it causes inflammation of arterial walls, which actually backs up the cholesterol. Your body needs cholesterol to actually process and make vitamin D from the sun, and your brain needs cholesterol. So when they lower the cholesterol in your body with these statin drugs, you end up not getting the cholesterol that your brain needs, and you end up developing dementia and Alzheimer's. So that's a whole different conversation. I have a testimonial coming up with someone else who was on statin drugs. We were able to get them off. They had an inflammatory issue in their brain. They had their memory messed up and all of that. And they're able to get their memory back and act normal within the 3 days of getting off of the statin drugs. But what we're going to do is we're going to focus on diabetes. So let's just talk about what you did in terms of the protocol. You took olive leaf extract and you took the Moringa cilantro. So the olive leaf extract that you took, I don't know if you have a bottle there with you so you could show people, or the Moringa cilantro there
Yeah,
with you, you could show people. Yeah, you can
yeah,
go
I
and
get.
get that.
Yeah,
What people need to realize is that what the olive leaf extract does, it does what metformin does in terms of creating insulin sensitivity, but it does more. Number one, it doesn't create side effects, right? It doesn't create the side effect of death. That's number one. And then number two, what it does is that it creates insulin sensitivity and it reverses the inflammation that the insulin is causing in terms of whatever you've been taking in terms of insulin shots. It reverses that for people who are diabetics, and it also reverses the inflammation that's coming from the foods that you're eating. And the number one source of inflammation is actually sugar. Sugar is the number one source of inflammation. Now, I've said that if sugar can burn a hole in your teeth, and they call it cavities, then imagine what sugar is doing to your soft internal organs, right? So we like to tell people the first thing you do is get rid of the sugar. So yeah, you want to show people the bottle?
can you see it?
Yep. That's
That's
the
the olive leaf extract,
yep. That's the herbal
and
results super strength.
and here is the Moringa cilantro.
Yep. You want to turn it the other way so people can see the front of it? How many times do you take that one?
I was taking this twice a day with
You can
some
hold it up while you're talking so people can see it.
I was taking this twice a day mixed with some coconut, unsweetened coconut milk once in the early in the AM, and then once in the PM, and then the
Teaspoon?
olive leaf extract I was taking 3 times a day, AM, noon, and then in the evening.
Okay, so with the Moringa cilantro, you took that a teaspoon in the morning and then a teaspoon in the night mixed with
Yeah,
coconut milk,
mixed
right?
with some unsweetened coconut milk.
Okay, and then can you hold up the olive leaf now? I want to ask you
And then,
something about so people can see that. Could you just tell
yeah,
people the
then I
dosage you
took
took
the
of that?
olive leaf. Then I took this, hold on. Then I took this olive leaf extract. I was taking this 3 times a day.
How much?
Uh, I think it was a teaspoon mixed in with some water
Mm-hmm.
and
Right.
just mix it up. And then I've taken the 1 zinc tablet in a day. Then I took took the
You took the
D3,
D3
K2,
plus K2 and
and then the
magnesium.
magnesium.
Excellent. And let's talk
And
about
that
your
did it.
diet.
And then stop eating everything that, you said stop eating.
Right.
And
And
that was the
so
hardest part. I'm gonna tell you, that was the hardest part. I'm telling you, that was murder. Because you have that's when it made me realize this is nothing but a habit. Because when I couldn't eat the things that I had been eating, you follow what I'm saying?
mm-hmm.
Hey, you had them side effects like you kicking a drug habit.
Right.
I'm
Exactly. Basically,
serious.
sugar is a drug.
Yeah, it is. And I'm gonna tell you, when I was a kid 50 years ago, I was messing with heroin. Do you know I had the same side effects not eating the sugars as I had when I was breaking the heroin habit?
What was harder for you to kick, heroin or sugar?
It's about the same.
Wow.
That's deep. I recognize that. Because had I not went through the heroin experience, then I wouldn't have had nothing to compare it to. You follow me?
Mm-hmm.
So it's
So
all like this. It's like breaking another habit. That's all it was. Because I'm gonna tell you, that sugar habit is just as bad as a heroin habit. For anybody that never messed with heroin, let me tell you, I'm telling you from experience. That sugar habit is just as bad as kicking a heroin habit.
yeah. But I'm gonna tell you, Mac, you don't look like a sick man.
No,
You
I'm not now. I'm telling you, bro. Man, I'm telling you, brother. Look, for everybody listening, please tell the people about Dr. Heru, because again, I was going through this for 10 years and I never could find a solution. The only thing the doctors kept telling me over a 10-year period, take this, take that. And it was just because in my spirit, I'm like, you know what? This what got my attention. If it was the food and the drinks that caused the problem, why aren't you talking to me about that instead of telling me you would just take this?
Right.
You follow me? That's what got my attention. And I asked the doctor that. He said, yeah, well, okay, it is a dietary issue. I said, well, why are we talking about that? Why aren't you telling me to stop eating this, stop drinking that? He didn't say none of that. Only thing he was trying to push on me was metformin.
Correct. And this is the problem. This is the problem. And this is why your testimonial is so important. That's why, you know, when I started Herbal Results, I wanted to cut straight to the chase. I wanted to get straight to the root cause of these problems, because once you deal with these issues from the root cause, you solve the problem for the rest of your life. And then you understand what's going on. They don't tell you exactly what's going on with you. They just told you got diabetes, and then you get scared. You think, oh, let me just listen to the doctors and take this insulin shot and blah, blah, blah. But they don't tell you that what you've really got is insulin resistance. They don't really explain to you how insulin works. They don't explain to you. I mean, you don't have to be a scientist. You don't have to be someone with a PhD in biology or a medical degree to be able to understand what I just explained to you. What I explained to you about insulin resistance could be explained to a 10-year-old child, and then they can understand what's going on. So they understand that every single time they eat a carbohydrate, every time they eat a processed item, particularly processed flour, you know, cookies, cake, cereals, grains, all of these things, they convert into carbohydrates in the body. And if it's refined, processed, it converts into the body in 10 minutes into sugar, which means that it has a high glycemic index, which spikes your glucose, which then triggers insulin. But you're insulin resistant, so the last thing you want is anything to trigger insulin. And this is the point that I'm making, in that the fact that they don't tell the world this lets you know that they don't really care. They don't really care, that they don't have an understanding. The medical schools that taught them don't really care. And the doctors haven't gone further to actually get to the bottom of this problem, because diabetes is something that is easily reversible. And I remember when you sent an email to us at Herbal Results, that's where people can just go to herbalresults.net. You can get the products there. You can contact us there. When you sent the email, I remember your email because it was forwarded to me, Mac. I don't even know if you know that I remember, but I remember you were like, can I get my A1C down? That was the first thing you said. If I do this, can I get it down? You weren't playing any games. You just said, you didn't say hello. You just said, if I do this, can I get my A1C down? And I explained everything to you. And here's the thing, right? I know that you have a lot of great things to say about me, but what I want to say about you is that the difference between you and a lot of other people is that once it was explained to you, you did what was necessary. You exerted the discipline. You actually took the steps and changed your life. So it's like you can tell a horse where the water is, but you can't force it to drink. So the fact that you had the discipline to do this is a great testimony for yourself, man.
Well, doctor, listen, doc. My sister, listen to this. My sister, she used to run hospitals. She was the head director of nursing for big hospitals here in Chicago, right? She developed diabetes, and I watched what she went through. And when her mind, see, she was part of the system, so she was listening to them. And I was the one was always telling, that's why I moved back to Chicago. Actually, I moved back to Chicago to help her because she passed from complications from diabetes. She wound up having to go to dialysis, and she was on dialysis so long, she said, Mac, I can't do it no more. She called AR Leak, the funeral parlor. She told them what she wanted to do. She said, I'm not taking no more dialysis. I'm ready to go. So she called them, told them when she leaves, they wanted to cremate her body, and she made her own preparations to leave here. Well, she died from, I watched my sister die from complications from diabetes, and being a medical professional, she was stuck in what they were talking about instead of seeking natural remedy. And that was part of the issue. The question was, I got 5 children, 19 grandchildren. The question was to me, are you going to die or do you want to live? And that was it. That's why I asked you, how do I drop my A1C?
Yeah, man. I just want to say salute to you for having the discipline, man, and actually going through with it and doing what was necessary and understanding the real science behind what was going on with you. And you're going to be a great beacon of light for other people who are suffering from diabetes, because it's one of the great killers of people in modern society right now. And it's actually easily reversed if you just stay away from certain foods and you take anti-inflammatory herbs. It's actually a 1-2-3 process, but the educational system doesn't teach us how to thrive. You know, you should have been taught this day one, 10 years ago. You know,
Yes.
and certainly if we'd have met each other, you know, we would have been able to talk. And the sad thing is that you were able to meet me through luck. And that's not the way it should be. You just fortunately knew someone who knew me in the radio show. This is not something that should be stumbled upon. This is something that should be general knowledge for every single person. It would have helped out your sister. It would have helped out everyone else in your family and everyone else in your sphere of influence. Nobody has to die of diabetes, man. Nobody. And it's very easy to reverse if you understand exactly what's happening. And it starts with medical nomenclature being correct and calling it what it is, insulin resistance. And once you understand that you're insulin resistant, you're going to do everything you can not to trigger insulin. And
So
that's
I
really
shouldn't eat, so I shouldn't be eating potatoes either, correct?
no, white potatoes, no. And I have a whole list. What you need is you need to just stay on a ketogenic diet, man. That's a low carb diet. You know, you can eat
Okay.
vegetables, you can eat fruit, you can do all of that, but you want to stay away from white potatoes like them Irish potatoes. But you can eat, interestingly enough, what they call sweet potatoes, not sweet yams. The sweet potato, you know, it looks like orange inside. You cut it.
Yeah.
You can eat that. That actually has a lower glycemic index than the Irish potatoes.
Okay. And I
So
want to ask you about your
Moringa
Moringa
Lantro,
Lantro.
yeah,
Now, I've been familiar with Moringa and I used to take it. What's the difference with your
Moringa
Moringa
Lantro, yeah.
cilantro mixed together?
Yeah, so the difference is this, is that um Moringa, we found out, you know, is great in terms of its antimicrobial, and it is very nutritious. So it has, you know, more iron than, you know, other foods. It has more protein than other foods. It's a superfood, but it's also antimicrobial. And what cilantro is that cilantro actually cleans the body from heavy metals. So the main heavy metals that are in the body through our diets is arsenic, which we get from rice. A lot of people don't know that. Mercury, which we get from seafood, lead from pipe-borne water, and aluminum from pots and pans. And all of these are heavy metals that attach in the body that cause all types of problems that I could go into depth on another time. But you want to clear those from your body. Actually, viruses and bacteria like to hide behind these heavy metals. We have the studies on our website. So if you go to herbalresults.net, you can go to the science page, you can go to Moringa and cilantro, you'll see the study that shows how heavy metals actually protect viruses and also bacteria. And so when you introduce cilantro to the body, it cleanses the body of these heavy metals, which then causes further healing. And what we found is that Moringa works better when it's coupled with cilantro, and cilantro works better when it's coupled with Moringa. And what we found is that Moringa and cilantro together not only drops high blood pressure, it also drops high blood sugar, and it causes people to lose weight to the point where they reach homeostasis to their perfect weight. So if you're heavy, it'll make you lose weight to your perfect weight. And if you're underweight, it makes you gain weight to your perfect weight. So it's a very interesting combination. So, that was just research that I did, and we decided to create that product because a lot of people have Moringa products. But the question is, how are you going to bring different value to the marketplace? You can't just do what everyone else is doing. I don't like to copy what other people do. So the olive leaf extract is stronger than anything else you're going to find in the market because we don't make it with vegetable glycerin. We use a different extraction method that actually makes it stronger. That's why we get all these results in reversing high blood pressure, reversing cancer, reversing diabetes, just with the olive leaf extract. So, at Herbal Results, we like to do the research and we like to put out innovative products, man, that are going to just deal with the issue from the root cause. And that's what's happened with you. Not just a dietary approach, but you taking these two products has brought your blood sugar down. And literally what people don't realize is that if you have a A1C of 5.7 or higher, you're considered pre-diabetic and diabetic. So Mack Glover's 11 A1C is very, very bad diabetes, very, very bad insulin resistance, very, very high blood sugar. So A1C is what you call your long-term blood sugar. And so taking it down to 5.5 literally means that you're no longer a diabetic. That's what it means. When you're under 5.7, you've got a healthy blood sugar of like a healthy 21-year-old.
Yeah, and I
And
see that because of my skin started growing back on my foot. That did it for me. I was like, oh, thank God.
exactly.
And thank Dr. Heru.
Yeah, I mean, this is what we do at Herbal Results, man. I'm just glad that we're able to make a difference. I want to be able to show people your before and after again. I'm going to share that screen again, and people are going to see that before and after. So we have the metformin side effects, what we showed people, just to, kind of review. And death is the first listed side effect in the warnings of metformin. It's there for everybody to see. I'm going to make the screen a little bit smaller so that you can all see it all on one page. Metformin side effects, death. It says it right there. And so we're not making these things up, y'all. And then we have Mack showing us his foot, the before and after of his foot. So if you look at his foot, this was the before. Look at the big hole in his foot, y'all. Big hole in his foot. It's not healing. They want to amputate it. And he says, no, let's address the root cause of the problem. The root cause of the problem is the fact that my A1C is so damn high. And look what happens once he addresses the A1C through the Herbal Results products and through the regimen of avoiding carbohydrates and going to a ketogenic diet. This is what happens to the foot. It heals on its own without the medical system. And the doctors are shocked and surprised when they should actually be asking him his complete regimen so that they could give it to their patients. Really, that's what the doctor should have done if they really cared about humanity. They should use you as a case study for all of their patients to say, okay, here's what you took. You took the olive leaf extract, you took the Moringa cilantro, you cut carbohydrates and sugars from your diet. It took 3 months. Your A1C went to normal. It went from severely diabetic to normal. We need to implement this for our other patients. Are they going to do that? No.
Do you know the diabetes doctor didn't ask me how I brought my A1C down from 11? And do you know that even the foot doctor didn't ask me how I did it? They just looked at it like it was, it wasn't a big deal. I
Right.
said, oh, okay, I see what's going on with y'all. Because
Right.
this wasn't supposed to happen.
Right. They were shocked.
Yeah.
This happens with the cancer folks. If you have some time, Mac, just go on the website to the testimonials page. You'll be up there for the diabetes section, but you'll see cancer reversals, and this is the same story.
Yeah.
Folks go through the Herbal Results protocol. They take the antiparasitics, boost their immune system, stay away from the same foods that I told you to stay away from, because it's the same problem. Insulin resistance and cancer and all, it's all the same problem. And so you stay away from the foods that cause the feeding of inflammation. You stay away from all of that. You introduce immune boosting protocol, which is vitamin D3 plus K2, your magnesium, your zinc, and you introduce anti-parasitics and anti-inflammatory herbs like the olive leaf extract. And you do this, you'll find that people with high blood pressure, it normalizes. They no longer have it. People with cancer, it goes away. People with diabetes, it goes away. People with autoimmune illnesses, it goes away. And you're just one example of it working. And, when I have these cancer patients go back to their oncologist, the oncologists are in shock too. Oh, you no longer have cancer. We looked at the MRI. There's no more tumors anywhere. Wow. And they don't then sit down with the people and say, how did you do it? I want to know every single thing that you did so that we can look into this and start maybe recommending it for our patients, because we've never seen this before. All of these people are people who did not do chemotherapy. They did not do radiation. They didn't do any of these things. And the doctors are completely in shock because they are not trained to really understand the root cause of these problems. They're trained to deal with it from a branch level, which is basically, let's cut off the branch, but then the fruit tree still grows back. The fruit grows back if you cut off the branch of a fruit tree. Sometimes it grows back even stronger. So these are the problems that we have, because them cutting off your foot, guess what happens, Mac? They didn't address your problem. So the next time you get another injury on your foot, they're going to cut your other foot off.
Yeah.
Right?
Now,
So now you don't have any feet.
And yeah, then you have, then part of your regimen was only eat within 8 hours of the day, and after those 8 hours, drink water.
Exactly.
I did that. I picked from 11 to 7 to eat, from 11 to 7 only.
Yep. And that's called intermittent fasting.
And should I continue?
Yes, you should do it as a way of life.
Okay, as a way of life. So continue to eat just those 8 hours.
Yep.
And do I continue to take the product the way I've been taking it, or I can let
as long as your A1C is good and you're not sneaking in cookies and donuts? Yeah, you could start easing off of it, but just check your A1C every now and then. You don't have to take it, every single 3 times a day. You can take it down to 2 times a day. Then you can start taking down to 1 time a day. But as long as you keep your diet good and you keep that time restricted window for eating, you should be good. You can then just take the olive leaf extract just as a supplement every now and then. You can take it every other day, whatever. Just remember, it's basically food. Remember, it's the leaves of the olive tree. So you just don't look at it as medicine. Just look at it as part of your diet. Look at the Moringa cilantro as part of your diet.
Preventative.
Yeah. Well, just look at it as food, as part of your diet. Just like you eat every day. Just don't look at it as medicine. Look at it as food. They say, let your food be your medicine. Let your medicine be your food. Just look at it as part of your diet.
Yeah. Moringa got my attention when I read something over in Africa where the children were starving and they were feeding them moringa.
Right. And because it had all the nutrients that people need.
Part of food. Right. I got you.
All right.
Yeah, bro. Well, I tell everybody about you. I tell everybody about you. People I don't even know. I overhear people talking. I just jump in. Say, listen, you need to check this out. You know what I'm saying? So you're right about that. See, once you know, you follow what I'm saying? You can't help but share. You know what I'm saying? That's all we can do. And so more people need to know about you, brother. You need to be known all over the country. You follow me? I mean, seriously.
Well, man, thank you for the kind words, man. And like I said, man, there's enough respect to you for actually listening to the protocol and following through with the protocol, because one of the problems that we do have is compliance, that when people come to me with their problems, I tell them what to do. A lot of times they don't go ahead and, follow what needs to be done. I know you say you snuck in a cookie here and there when you start feeling good, but you got people who are eating cookies all day long and still wondering why they got diabetes. And then they still call me with their problems. Yeah. So now you know better and you got the results. So the results is very motivating.
And I'm going to tell you something. Once you go through this here, I look at things differently now. I see these Dunkin' Donuts shops dropping everywhere. I said, there you go, diabetes waiting to happen. I said, they giving people habits. Yep. People talking about, they talking about these companies are growing. Dunkin' Donuts. Yeah, you're giving people habits. Starbucks. Yeah, y'all giving people habits. You follow what I'm saying? And so you look at life and start looking at things, it change your whole perspective about certain things. And I'm gonna tell you, them donuts used to call my name. They don't do that no more.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Matt, I'm gonna let you end with the last words. Say whatever you want to say to anybody else who got diabetes, who might be watching this, and we can close out that way.
Okay. All I can say is whoever's listening to this, please tell everybody you know to listen to this Dr. Heru, and don't be afraid of changing that diet, because that's the number one issue. If you can change that diet and know that this brother know what he's talking about, again, he solved my problem, what he was talking about cutting off my part of my foot. And so everything is working out the way it's supposed to. All we have to do is listen to this brother and follow his regimen, because he absolutely know what he's talking about. And I thank this brother for 10 years of my struggle and helping me get through all of that. Thank you again, brother, and God bless you with what you're doing. And I read somewhere it says y'all want to know why your product is working so well, because you're doing this from the heart. You follow what I'm saying? And you're doing this from the heart, and the Most High is blessing you because you're doing it from the heart. You really want to help people, and you are doing exactly that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mack Glover. This is another episode in Results with Herbal Results and Testimonials of the Reversal of Serious Illnesses. And so these serious illnesses tend to be high blood pressure, diabetes, autoimmune illnesses, cancer. They're all metabolically based diseases, which means that they have to do with diet, and they have to do with food, and they have to do with inflammation. And we've got the answer to that at herbalresults.net. Tune in for the next episode. We're going to have more serious illness reversals, and we'd like to thank Mack Glover, who's looking like a very young man, and he's doing well. And just to see the smile on his face is worth more than anything that I could, be given. So thank you all very much for tuning in. Peace.
Trees.